And 20 BVI Nationals released from quarantine. These and so much more when 284 News returns.
There's a reason you get up on a morning. A reason you pick yourself up, start the day. Maybe it's sheer grit. Maybe it's your ethics. Maybe it's because you know people like you are waiting for people just like you. We all have our reasons, and for Republic Bank, that reason is you. Every little thing, every big thing. It's all about making a difference in your life. Because after 182 years, if it's one thing we're sure about, is that the difference is you. We're here to help.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Welcome everybody. It's Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. Another beautiful day in the British Virgin Islands. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Javon Wilson. Viewers, lots to get into today, so we'll get straight into it.
Topping our newscast today, a total of 20 British Virgin Islanders nationals have returned to the community after completing their 14 days in quarantine and testing negative for the COVID-19 virus. Deputy Premier and Minister of Health and Social Development, the Honourable Carvin Malone, made the announcement during the 10th sitting of the second session of the 4th House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands on June 19th. Honourable Malone announced that 3 returnees were tested on June 17th, and additional 17 were tested on June 18th, all of whom received quarantine release certificates on Friday, June 19th, with their negative results. Priority had been given to the BVI Nationals and permanent residents to re-enter the territory during the first 2 weeks between June 2nd to June 15th of the controlled re-entry process at a private home or private accommodations on the approval of the Environmental Health Division. The first group is a part of the some 200 persons who have returned home to the territory. Now, Honourable Malone also explained that during the quarantine period, returnees are instructed to closely monitor their health and practice high levels of sanitation with support from health surveillance teams who call in twice daily. He stated that security teams have been securing private premises for some 24 hours a day to ensure that returnees adhere to quarantine protocols, such as not being allowed to leave the premises or not being allowed to have visitors. At the end of the quarantine period, all returnees are tested for COVID-19, and once samples bear negative results, they will receive the official certification of release and, if necessary, a return to work form. Prior to quarantine, as a part of the first phase of the controlled re-entry, all nationals approved to travel are subject to pre-arrival screening and health screenings on arrival. As the controlled re-entry phase continues, BVI nationals overseas who wish to return home after June 15th will be required to stay at a government quarantine facility to register. Now, persons can call, they're asked to call rather, or contact the BVI travel.vg. Very good news as we see nationals being reintegrated into society, and we're happy to report that there are all negative cases to date, that is.
I know a lot of them are screaming hallelujah free at last, of course, given their get out of jail card. But I can imagine the joy, just like you said, being able to reintegrate into a society they call home.
Yes.
And home happens to be COVID-free at this point, so that's great news for them. Welcome back, everyone. Viewers, we have to move right along. Now, Ryan Geluk's appointment as Rotary's Assistant Governor for the BVI 2020-2021 period is now under fire following daunting revelations about his role in the BVI Airways project gone bad. And surprisingly, viewers, the heat is allegedly coming from within the Rotary family. Now, the 4-page letter reaching our newsroom today stated, quote, fearing inaction by the district governor-elect, Mr. Charles Seeley, concerned members made a formal report and called to action the immediate retraction of Mr. Geluk as it threatens the credibility of the organization. Now, the letter penned to senior members stated, quote, our sole purpose is to ensure that Rotary's reputation in the British Virgin Islands remains unblemished. Therefore, we are of the opinion that the past president, Mr. Ryan Geluk's appointment as the assistant governor for the BVI 2020-2021 period be retracted on the grounds that he is a director of the BVI Airways, which is accused of perpetrating a massive multi-million-dollar airline scam here in the British Virgin Islands, end of quote. Now, this follows the Premier's revelation that the BVI Airways project is now under full criminal investigation. The 47-page report by the Auditor General, whose office is completely independent of political influence, lays out in detailed fashion all the details of a one-sided agreement between the government and BVI Airways, the failed attempt of BVI Airways to establish direct flights to the U.S. mainland, the ill-advised actions of government in relation to the BVI Airways operation, and the subsequent abandonment of the operation by BVI Airways. One conclusion was that, quote, the manner in which the project was introduced and progressed suggests that the operator parties were attempting to take advantage of the territory's existing airlift issues by providing a solution that would guarantee them above-market returns without the financial risk, end of quote. Now, despite at the time serving as the director of BVI Airways, Mr. Geluk was contracted to do an accounts evaluation under BDO, an accounting firm where he was then positioned as the deputy managing director, something that some persons consider a major conflict of interest. Now, within the BVI Airways report, Ryan also attempts to isolate himself from the fraudulent allegations, claiming that he only attended one meeting with the heavily implicated former financial secretary, Mr. Neil Smith, further highlighting that he was not brought up to date with other information. Now, Mr. Geluk said, quote, the only set of financial statements received were unaudited, and for the 15 months pre-operational period from the commencement of the venture to March 31st, 2017, end of quote. Now, fearing that the Premier will leave no stone unturned in this investigation, the concerned Rotarians further stated within the letter received today that we are, quote, deeply troubled by the turn of events as criminal charges loom. We worry that the good name and image of Rotary will also be on public trial through past presidents Ryan serving in such a senior and prominent position as assistant governor, end of quote. Now, the members are also outraged at the silence of District Governor Mrs. Delma Maduro and the acting governor Mrs. Lorna Smith, who recently condemned a local female Rotary president because of her sister's altercation in the club. The letter said, quote, why the double standards? Are we not all equals in our beloved Rotary? End of quote. Now, in closing, viewers, they reiterated Rotary's code of ethics, which states that, quote, I will act with integrity and high ethical standards in my personal and professional life. Being a member of Rotary means you are a person of integrity and honor, not only in your business or chosen profession, but also in your personal life too. End of quote. Now, viewers, the perturbed members, which allegedly spans across the Rotary Club of Tortola, the Rotary Club of Rotong, as well as the Rotary Club of Sunrise Rotong, are now asking for Ryan Geluk's appointment to be retracted until the matter is resolved. Now, Ron, I know a lot of questions have been circulating about the veracity of the email we received today that is calling for Ryan's resignation. I know the big question now is whether this is an actual person, an actual member, that is, from the Rotary organization, or a persona created to reflect the feelings of members of that organization. And we did make a very conscious effort to reach out to the Rotary family today for clarifications, but up to press time, no update was provided. However, when that happens, viewers, we will be sure to bring those details to you. Viewers, still ahead, Premier is pushing for COVID-19 testing to be done before someone boards a plane to the BVI, and Virgin Islanders Youth Parliament nominees complete training. All this and so much more when 284 News returns.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media@cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
I love you, Penny. Run, Forrest, run! Move it. Man, I'm sick of being in this house. I just want to go to the beach for all go just one day and gather to the garden. I'm sick of being in this house.
Having withdrawals from being stuck in the house for so long? Are you tired of looking at your old photos and daydreaming about your next vacation? Well, BVI Staycation is back and there's so much to choose from. For more information on upcoming deals, follow us on Facebook at BVI Staycation. Get ready, BVI, for an adventure in paradise. It's time to vacation where we live. Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now on we go to our next story. The Premier of the Virgin Islands, Honorable Andrew Foy, is now appealing to leaders within the region and the World Health Organization to implement what he's calling rapid testing at airports as we examine how to reopen the global travel industry. The announcement was made yesterday in the House of Assembly. Let's watch.
And this morning I was speaking to some of my Caribbean brothers and sisters in the other islands, and I was speaking to some of the other leaders about us getting together to make a very heavy push to have to make sure that we could get more rapid tests approved by WHO, PAHO, and them at a faster rate, so that when you go to get to a flight, you would have to take the rapid test before you get on, wherever you're going. And this is an idea, you know, that I've been toying with, and I told them that this has to be in place. And if you test positive and you're from where you're leaving, then you can't get on the flight. If you belong to the country where you're coming, that's something else. But if you test positive, then you can't get on the flight. And that will call for persons, and this is just an idea that I have. I want to make it clear that I'm trying to push through the region and through the world, because the fact is we have to live with COVID-19. And I keep saying that, and I say there's nowhere wrong. We have to learn to live with COVID-19. Every speech I give, that's in there, along with we cannot play around with COVID-19 because COVID-19 is not playing around with us. And I mean that also as a speaker, but that doesn't mean that we play dead and just throw our hands up in the air. Let's do the things that are going to keep us safe. When we open up this territory, Mr. Speaker, in the next couple months, I think it's after August, into September, I think, when we're going to open it up and try to open it up. But that's also dependent on us doing what we have to do now so that we can open up during that time. But before that, we have a lot of measures to put in place to make sure that we protect ourselves from persons coming into the territory with the coronavirus, unless they're our own people coming back home. There's nothing we can do about that. And that takes a lot of negotiations from country to country, airlines, and a lot of negotiations behind the scenes that are taking place to put things in place that will protect all islands, so that...
That was our territory leader, Honorable Andrew A. Foy. Now, while a promising idea, persons within the BVI have proposed a similar condition for BVI nationals and residents returning from COVID-prone regions. Just last week, the government announced that self-quarantining is no longer an option, as many persons were reportedly not adhering to the mandatory guidelines. By this time, the government had already financed the accommodation of about 250 persons, but added that they are willing to do 100 additional rooms. They also revealed that non-nationals will now be required to foot their own accommodation bill. Now, in light of the increasing costs on government's COVID-19 budget, many residents have questioned the possibility of returnees being tested even before returning to the shores of the BVI. One resident said, quote, "This will reduce the costs inherited by government on an already limited budget and relax what some are calling a very stringent 14-day quarantine for persons who may be COVID-free," end of quote. Now, viewers, streamline testing systems at airports is already up and running in some countries across the world, with results obtained within 90 minutes. That's 90 minutes. The goal is to eliminate overnight stays at hotels for tourists and those being repatriated while they wait for their results. Instead, special areas at those airports have been designated where travelers can wait for just about 2 hours for their results. Experts think this is a great way to further determine the rate of infection and, of course, to prevent the spread of the virus in low-risk regions like here in the BVI. Now, viewers, just last week, Kyle and I, we spoke to the issue of government incurring all of these additional costs to host persons returning to the BVI. At that time, we did suggest testing even prior to returning because first of all, it helps to separate the negatives from the positives, in this case as it relates to COVID-19. But I think it makes practical sense as well because we cannot continue to spend what we don't have. And I think it's much cheaper for us to do a test prior to coming to the BVI than to have to accommodate someone for 14 days at government's expense.
Another important story as we continue in the fight against COVID-19. At the end of the day, Jovan, I think the government of the Virgin Islands continues to do its part, and I think the suggestion is warranted. We'll continue to keep you guys updated on this story. Continuing on, Speaker of the House of Assembly, the Honorable Ryan Geluk, said the Virgin Islands Youth Parliament is now poised with a cadre of promising youth following a completion of the final of 3 sessions to train nominees for the Virgin Islands Youth Parliament. Speaker, the Honorable Geluk, in a statement said the nominees have been trained on all aspects of House of Assembly proceedings and will be engaged in research and other supporting roles. He said, and I quote, at the end of their tenure, they should be fully versed in all functions of the House of Assembly, as they are groomed by the 15 members of the House of Assembly. The Speaker added by saying, and I quote, I take this opportunity to wish them well and to extend my full support, what I consider a vital opportunity to shape future leaders. Now, some of the topics listed on the final session held on June 15 include how to dress for success, a parliamentarian by Ms. Zoe Walcott, the Constitution in brief by a Solicitor General, Mrs. Joanne Williams-Roberts, the Standing Orders, Part 2 by Ms. Phyllis Evans, who is the Clerk of the House of Assembly, and A Day in the Life of a Parliamentarian by the Territory's Leader, the Do's and Don'ts by Honorable Premier. Now, other members of the House of Assembly were present and addressed questions from the new cohort of trainees who were chosen by all 13 members of the House of Assembly, the Speaker and the Director of Youth Affairs and Sports. A resolution was passed during the 5th sitting of the 2nd session of the 4th House of Assembly for the appointment of a special select committee to manage the Youth Parliament. Now, the committee members are the Honorable Ryan Geluk, Chairman, Honorable Neville A. Smith, Honorable Kai Reimer, Honorable Shari B. DeCastro, Honorable Julian Fraser, Honorable Melvin M. Turnbull, the Honorable Marlon A. Penn, and the Honorable Shireen D. Flax Charles. The official launch of the Youth Parliament is scheduled for June 30th. The youth parliamentarians are also expected to debate a topic recommended by the Management Committee of the Youth Parliament, where all debating and other skills learnt in the training will be put into play. The Virgin Islands Youth Parliament is comprised of a cohort of 40 young people from all districts ranging from the ages of 18 to 35. The nominees are selected from other youth organizations such as churches and non-profit organizations. Jovan, a very great initiative that was instilled and integrated a few years ago by the former administration, but nevertheless we see it being continued, which really gives our young people who are interested in leadership positions an opportunity to see and understand how the House of Assembly works when it comes to the Constitution, passing legislations. So I think it's quite exciting, and I can't wait to see these young people in their first debate that's going to be coming up. So we wish them all the best in this new endeavor.
Definitely. It gives them, like you said, a great introduction
Yes.
to the national issues, but more importantly, introduces them to think critically for themselves and see how leaders operate. Like you said, the procedures, the regulations, and so on. And I know Honorable Geluk definitely has his hands filled, but I'm sure he's up for the task. Definitely.
Continuing on, still ahead, once we get back from our break, grants available for CHIP, the CHIP program, and we have all the details on the Sahara dust hanging over the BVI. I know you guys have been concerned about this. So all this and more after a word from our sponsors. You're watching 284 News.
Homegrown.
And initiate sequence.
Penetrate this man's soul with my heart.
What?
Watch and learn.
Sir?
and other trolls. How different can they be?
Are we in Florida?
Oh my god.
Viewers, welcome back. Now continuing on the local scene, the government of the Virgin Islands, along with other agencies and individuals, will provide over 300 grants to persons who require financial assistance to participate in the Complete Health Improvement Program, also known as CHIP. The CHIP program offers a 10 to 12-week course which teaches participants how to boost their health and lead healthier lifestyles. Deputy Premier of the Virgin Islands and Minister of Health and Social Development, the Honorable Carvin Malone, at a press conference to launch the training program, explained the 300 grants will be spread across the 9 districts. The $150 scholarship will offset the $200 cost of the CHIP course, and recipients will be required to pay $50. Now, additionally, the Rotary Clubs of Tortola are providing a scholarship grant of $10,000, which will provide 100 scholarships at $100 each. Recipients will pay the remaining $100. Representative of the 7th District, Dr. the Honorable Natalio D. Wheatley, is sponsoring 10 grants for District 7. Residents are going to be paying $170 per participants, and they will be required, Honorable Wheatley is paying $170, and recipients in the 7th District will only have to pay $30. Now, members of the House of Assembly have sponsored classes at Her Majesty's Prison for 15 imprisoned individuals. A class will also be held for 15 officers. Persons interested in receiving the scholarships are asked to sign up for the program by downloading the registration form at www.bvi.gov.vg, and of course by submitting an email to chipvirginislands@gmail.com. Interested persons can also contact the BVI Health Promotion Unit via telephone number 468-4936. Now, CHIP classes are being held in 4 main locations. That's East End and Rotown on Tortola, along with Virgin Gorda and Jos Van Dyke. Classes in East End began on June 23rd, followed by an informational session on Virgin Gorda at the Village Cafe Conference Room. Classes begin on Jos Van Dyke on July 8th. Information on other class dates and locations will be made available to the general public over the next few weeks. Each CHIP session will run for approximately 2 hours. The courses will be held by 22 certified facilitators who were trained in the territory in November last year. If you have any questions and for more information, follow CHIP BVI on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates on the classes. Now, the Complete Health Improvement Program strategy is scientifically based with proven results in preventing, arresting, and reversing chronic diseases. The program was founded in the United States of America in 1988 by Dr. Hansel Diel. The Ministry of Health is the holder of the license to operate CHIP in the Virgin Islands. Great news for persons who are interested in participating in this program, and we wish them the very best.
Absolutely, and it's a case where a lot of persons, even though it's a system where you want persons to buy in, a lot of persons may not be able to afford it.
Yes.
So I'm really happy to see our territory leaders, our community organizations really stepping out, even the prisoners and the prison
I think
officers.
that's exceptional. I'm really happy to see
and
that.
it shows that we care. And in order for the community to buy into this, I think we need to lead by example. So again, kudos to all the stakeholders. Viewers, as we begin to wrap up today's newscast, local residents are stunned by the vast cloud of Sahara dust that has blanketed the BVI and by default the region, characterized by hazy skies and deleterious conditions. Many are now concerned that it will do more damage than anticipated. Many are concerned, like I said, but surprisingly, viewers, this is not new, but it is somehow new to a few of our residents. So let's begin with what exactly it is. According to DDM, quote, this very dry, dusty layer of warm air occurs when a dust storm develops over Western Africa in the Sahara Desert and gets blown into the Atlantic Ocean by easterly winds. Now, the Antigua and Barbuda Meteorological Services, which has weather forecasting responsibilities for the BVI, explained that it thus hinders the formation of tropical cyclones by restricting the amount of moisture needed for cyclones to develop. Now, another big question surfacing surrounds health. Is it unhealthy? Well, viewers, it is, based on what the experts are saying. The air quality has hit a dangerously unhealthy level for persons, especially with respiratory diseases. But experts warn that even persons who are fairly healthy can be affected. Persons with allergies are especially at risk, as many have complained about itchy eyes, sneezing, and even a difficulty breathing. Now, to mitigate becoming ill, residents are now advised to stay indoors if possible, with your doors and windows shut. If you are leaving the home, wearing a face mask is even more critical at this point, as medical officials warn. It is even more important now that we're living in an era where COVID-19 is already putting a strain on our respiratory health. Now, despite the presence of the Saharan dust, the month of July has traditionally been a slow month during annual hurricane seasons. Therefore, the Department of Disaster Management is advising residents to continue to fast-track their preparations. The director of DDM, Mrs. Charlene Dabrio, said, quote, "It is therefore imperative that everyone remain vigilant and continue to finalize preparations for the season. I know there is a tendency for persons to become a bit relaxed when they don't see anything happening, but I strongly urge everyone to avoid complacency," end of quote. Now, viewers, Saharan dust can occur throughout the hurricane season, with June and July normally being the peak months for heightened activity. The dust is estimated to leave the region, hopefully, by late tomorrow, that is Wednesday. As we can all remember, on May 27th, viewers, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration issued its forecast saying the season will, quote, "most likely be nearly normal." It predicts a 70% likelihood of 10 to 16 named storms, of which 4 to 8 could become hurricanes, including 1 to 4 major hurricanes in the region. So, viewers, I know this has been an ongoing conversation for the last few days. I think ever since the end of Sunday, we saw the dust hitting the region. In some countries, worse than others, but definitely for the BVI, many have said, especially the older population, this is the first time we've seen it to this extent. It's really dense and concerning for persons with, like we said, respiratory issues. But nevertheless, here we have some explanation as to what it really is.
And of course, again, persons need to understand that now more than ever, it is extremely important to continue wearing your mask.
Yes.
We don't want to forget about COVID-19, but we also want to make sure that you're paying attention to this very important cause. So wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask.
Please wear your mask and keep your windows and doors closed. Now, viewers, that is it for today's news roundup, but you can be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com. And trust me, there's only so much we can cover here on the newscast, but a wealth of information available via our 284 Media website. You can also like us on Facebook at 284 Media, and we're on Instagram and Twitter as well at 284 BVI. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. We'll see you again tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and international content. We're 284 News, your source for honest and impartial news right here on 284 Media. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yes. You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Eco? 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 Everyone is speaking about eco-friendly products. We wanted to take the time to introduce the Eco Island brand. Eco Island is a brand dedicated to providing you with a reliable and cost-effective solution. Eco-friendly products for your restaurant, hotel, bar, office, and home. With takeaway trays, bags, cups, paper straws, cutlery, and cleaners. For more information, follow us at Eco Island 100.